Okay, so this is take two of our witness walkthrough. We tried it before and ran into some sound recording issues, so we are trying it again with some better levels. But basically, I've been watching a number of blind from the beginning playthroughs and enjoying that. And I can't really do that kind of a thing anymore since I've already gone through the game. You can see a bunch of the stuff in here. Multiple times. Those are various sound tests, but here's the one that I actually have as my current complete state, and it's 100% at least as far as completion goes. So instead, I was thinking of a walkthrough where I go through all the stuff that I liked and point out things that I thought were pretty cool and what I thought about them. So this is going to be full of spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers for The Witness, you shouldn't watch it.
If you hear any strange noises, those are our cats.
Yeah.
Probably. Or me. You never know.
We'll see.
Making strange noises.
But yeah, we're just going to launch right into it and try to keep up the pace. So, yeah, this is where the game starts with some tutorials and a little metal cylinder. And the first thing that I remember noticing when I started the game the first time was that the view is actually locked here. I remember trying to turn around and see if I could see something, and I couldn't. So the game pretty directly forces you forward. The second thing I noticed was the ground narrowing.
Which I did not notice the first time at all.
So explicitly noticing this little black line narrowing down from a point, and thinking it was possibly significant. And then you will walk up on the first puzzle, which isn't really a puzzle, it's just to teach you the interaction mechanic. But what I immediately thought when I first opened this door was that the puzzle was clearly meant to represent this hallway somehow. And it sort of is. And again, this is where we basically just delve into the game's secrets. But I didn't discover this immediately, of course. But when I thought about it coming back, it wasn't hard to find or think about its existence.
Yeah, I remember when you first taught me about this mechanic, it blew my mind completely. It's just one of the coolest things I've seen in a game, like, ever.
Yeah, and so likewise, the second puzzle that comes up here, I saw this sort of as an extension of that. It's a left turn, and the puzzle itself is representing the left turn. I was already sort of inclined to think about puzzles as environmental markers. And so you have a nice inviting light at the top of the stairs and opens up into this really nice garden here.
The graphics in this game are fantastic.
Yeah, it's
so
got
beautiful.
A really great art style behind it.
So good.
And so a lot of people have pointed out what the opening garden is doing from a design standpoint, from a subconscious standpoint. You have the mountain sitting up right at the top of the view, subconsciously or consciously becoming the focus of where you're going to go. When I first got up here, I saw that there was a puzzle here to do. I actually didn't go right for it. I looked around the garden trying to see actually if this puzzle corresponded to the garden environment. And as far as I've ever been able to tell, it doesn't. It's really just a maze puzzle. But that's always kind of been how I play games, and particularly puzzle games, is I know what's right in front of me. I know where the critical path probably is. And I always want to try to get more information about the area if I can before just forging on ahead. And there's a number of things that are going on around here besides the panels. Really, the most interesting one is right as you're walking out. There's another one of these hanging out right above the wall.
That always catches me by surprise. It's just like, oh my gosh, there it is.
Yeah, I know. When you kind of have the idea of where to look for them, they become easier and easier to spot, and you wonder how you ever missed it.
That cloud really does have a weird shape.
It has a really weird shape.
It's like, what?
Everything in this game is so weirdly shaped.
It's got a hard line. It's got hard lines.
Right, and it's meant to go right there. I've heard a lot of people who kind of rush past those because they don't think of them as really being puzzles.
What?
And they really are. I mean, they're a different kind of puzzle from the panel stuff, from the straight logic stuff, but you have stuff like this. This is the second to last one that I figured out.
So
because you have a clear starting point over here, but it doesn't go anywhere. and you have a clear ending point over there and no real way to connect them.
It's like you see there's something that
you,
could be
you see
there.
there's something that
but
could be
yeah.
there, and I spent a long time trying to figure out if I had to do something with the paint on the ground, but it just didn't really work out. And I think my settings are wrong here.
Oh?
Yeah.
What's up with your settings?
Oh,
Talk about the background of this, by the way.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, the other thing, and this took a while to notice too, but I really like it, is when you go into the menu, you actually get this eye closing mechanic, and let me find a little bit more contrast here to look at. You actually get a burned-in image of whatever you're looking at that kind of fades into little floaters and things.
Do it again.
I'm trying to see if I wait whether it'll resolve into things or whether I need to play more of the game before some of these symbols that you start seeing.
Symbols?
Yeah, like the symbols for the different puzzles start showing up on the menu screen there. So it's just all this really cool stuff tied in together.
Dang, how long did you say this took them to build?
This took 7 years to bake.
7 years.
Yeah,
wow.
they didn't think it was going to take that long, but they worked this game to perfection, and it really does show. Okay, so this guy right here, yeah, these the environmental puzzles really are puzzles. This one took me so long to figure out. I thought it might have something to do with standing in the right area or something to do with the floor, and eventually I figured it had to be some sort of a switch that I hadn't found. And the switch is right here on this pillar, and so it really is hard to find if you aren't looking for it.
Do those arrows mean anything?
Yeah, the arrows are puzzle mechanics. So they're the triangle puzzle mechanic. That means that each side, or the number of triangles in the square, represents the number of lines that border it.
Wow.
And this one is also taking place in a pillar. So
That is really neat.
you just do this little snake here, and that activates this in the floor.
Voila!
But then you're still not done, because you can come back here and you can see this, and well, you can't come up here, and you can't draw down there yet, right? And you've got a puzzle here which you can solve. And you'd think, okay, well, if we work our way up here and kind of make it across the path here, that might do it. But that doesn't do it. We're still stuck there.
Yeah.
Seem to be getting closer. What actually happened when I got to this point was I said, all right, well, let's try to clear it, and I clicked off. But normally the line will go away, and in this case the line didn't go away. So I said, oh, that's really interesting. And so I started looking for a way to solve the puzzle wrong. And I think I actually just went ahead and solved the puzzle like this. I bypassed that one, and then I came up here and grabbed him. And as you can see, the line is yellow.
Aha! Brilliant.
And so now you can draw back along it.
So brilliant! Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So.
Love it. So clever and gorgeous at the same time.
So yeah, puzzles. There's also this guy up here. We probably won't do this one until we come to the end of the game, because
That's super clever.
that actually leads to an ending. But yeah, so getting into the maze puzzles, these guys are all really just to get you used to a couple of different mechanics. One is the idea that puzzles chain together using these cables.
That's a pretty great idea. Basically, just follow the
Yeah, it's just follow the cable. It'll take you somewhere new.
Yeah.
It's a very simple mechanic, but
it's all the way up there.
It's useful if you and it can be done in an organic way with the world too. You have the cables that are draped over walls and going in all sorts of different ways. And so this guy leads you all the way back over here, and you see that there are a couple of panels on here with more cables coming out, and those lead you back to a couple more areas
can't
here.
get over how gorgeous this garden is. Oh yeah, there's a hidden puzzle
in the
hole too, right?
Yeah, there's a puzzle right here.
Yes.
You need to be up on this roof to get to it. You don't have the right angle down here.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in time.
Yeah, it's still hilarious just how intense those are, because once you know they're there.
Yeah, well, they really are everywhere. This guy shows that you have the possibility to start in multiple places. The way that I actually solved this puzzle, and would solve any puzzle like this, is not to try to follow each path. It's to divide the maze into 2 regions by drawing a path down through here along the breaks.
Using the negative space?
Right, well, yeah, sort of, using the negative space, or using a different way of path drawing. I can see that anything over in this region is disjoint from anything in this region, and so there's no reason to ever consider that. I just start over here and make my way all the way back up. And then finally, and sort of in the same way, you have the cable that comes here, runs over the top of the roof, like that. And down the other side, this one shows you that mazes can have 2 different endings. And done in a specific kind of a way. So it's done so that your first solution is very likely to be this, because that's the first exit that you can come to. But that's the wrong solution. And so you're encouraged to find that and to understand that these mean different things, and that that's a possibility.
And does that come back?
It comes. Yeah, it comes back all the time. There are a number of different puzzles that can be solved in multiple ways, and the exit you use typically means something. Not in every case, but very frequently. When there are multiple exits, the different exit will mean something for the world. Or other puzzles. Some of the Tetramino puzzles in the swamp, the way that you solve them represents the positions of different platforms, for example.
That's not the lake, though, right?
It's not the lake. No, it's the multicolored swamp. I don't know if you've been through that.
I don't think I have.
Yeah,
we'll have to see it here.
You know how the puzzle type works. Okay, so then once this is open, you can open the gate. And of course, when I first got to this, I had to sit and play with it for a little bit of time, because I was sure different solutions for this, since there are too many ways to solve it, must correspond to something. You can sit with it for a while, and you probably wouldn't ever find the one, but that is in fact true. That this solution, right? Oh man, I'm forgetting the right way to do this.
No.
It's like this, I think. It's like, no, go the right way. Go the right way. There you go.
I know, it's weird, like, when you usually don't have... I don't always have that control over the mouse, but occasionally it misbehaves.
On the diagonals, it can be a little hard to get it to go exactly where you want it to go. It's easier when the grid is orthogonal. But yeah, that turns the gate back on. Of course, the reason you need to do that is for this guy.
Which you don't need to do now.
Yeah, you don't need to do that now, and you eventually find something that shows you that option. Let's see. This path here is a puzzle.
The path is a puzzle?
Yeah, this path right here. This path is a puzzle.
Like, do you see it from above somewhere?
Yeah, you can kind of get the image that that might be a circle from some perspective.
Yeah.
We'll take a little detour here while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, like seriously, keep remembering just how when you first told me about the mechanic, you didn't really tell me about it. You were just saying. We were just acting very paranoid and going back to look at random piles of rocks, and I was like, what are you doing? And you were like, oh yeah, look at that! Oh my gosh. Yep. That's awesome. But yeah, you told me, yeah, it's a mechanic. It's hard to describe.
I'm in the wrong spot. There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like, it's a mechanic that's hard to describe, but just know that once you see it, you can never unsee it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? But now it's totally
now it
true.
Makes sense.
Because I do the same thing. When we're playing together.
And there's also an audio log right here.
Oh, audio logs.
Let me go throw the subtitles on.
Okay.
Just so that we can have those on the screen, but maybe talk over it.
Yeah, I don't even know how loud it'll be.
We'll see.
I am standing on the threshold about to enter a room. It is a complicated business. In the first place, I must shove against an atmosphere pressing with a force of 14 pounds on every square inch of my body. I must make sure of landing on a plank, traveling at 20 miles a second around the sun. A fraction of a second too early or too late, the plank would be miles away.
These are freaking cool, too.
I must do this whilst hanging from a round planet head outward into space and with a wind of ether blowing at no one knows how many miles a second through every interstice of my body. The plank has no solidity of substance. To step on it is like stepping on a swarm of flies.
Some
Shall I
pillows?
not slip through?
Oh, yeah.
No.
These
If
are all
I
over the
make the
place, too.
venture, one of the flies hits me and gives me a boost up again. I fall again and am knocked upwards by another
It's a
fly.
little
And
sort
so
of a Lotus Starburst.
I may hope that the
and a
net
green
result
bottle?
will be that I
Yeah,
remain
like a
about steady.
cocktail or
But
something.
if,
All of these
unfortunately,
items,
I
by the
should
way.
slip through the
Oh,
floor
look, there's
or
another
be
one.
boosted too violently up to the ceiling,
Oh, you're right.
the occurrence would be not
What
a
were you gonna say?
violation
Sorry.
of the laws
Yeah, what I
of
was going to
nature,
say about it.
but a rare coincidence.
Well, there's a good way to.
These are some of the minor difficulties.
I know. I
Maybe
feel like we're
we
talking
won't do
over
the audio
something.
logs because it's like interesting stuff. And
It's really cool.
It really does tap into some of the environments too. What the audio logs talk about. If you sit and you think about how they're connected to the area where they're found, they usually are.
In order to make sure that my passage over the threshold is an entrance, not an exit.
Yeah.
Verily, it is easier for a camel to pass
So,
through
yeah.
the eye of a needle than for a scientific man to pass.
So yeah, this one.
That's a great line,
This,
actually.
and this one is a great line, and the reason it is a great line is for a scientific man. See, the gate there is a door. It's a doorway to something fantastic. It's a doorway to this completely different ending. And this one is talking about the complications for a scientific man to pass through a door, and there are probably multiple readings of it, but the way that I'm reading it as I'm hearing it right now is that if you have an intuitive sense of what's going on, you see this pattern and you try it out and you discover a gateway to something incredible. But if you're approaching it scientifically, there's no way you'll find it. You're doing it methodically and following this little puzzle chain, and you open the door, and that's it. And you never know this is there until you come back and revisit it much later, which is just really cool.
Yeah,
and a lot of the audio logs
super deep and very meta.
are like that.
Yeah.
They really do say something about the environment in which they're found, which makes it all the more rewarding to come back and think about them later on. Even when you've gone through the game before, and especially when you've gone through the game before. What I was going to say about the pillow and the designs on the napkins is those are all from that area. The hotel at the end of the universe is kind of how I think of it. I don't know. Have I walked you through there? I thought I did. I thought I showed you some of the stuff from it. I'm inclined to not go through it. Okay, so we're coming out back to this.
You're inclined not to go through
Not to go through it. Not to run through it and. Right now.
Tell you
We'll
about
come back to it later.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, so this puzzle, this is the first thing that you generally encounter after you leave the tutorial fortress. And the intent behind it is to teach you to walk away from things.
I love it. That's an intent.
It really is, because the island is full of puzzles that you aren't going to understand, at least not when you first encounter them. And that's okay. You really need to be okay with putting something down and saying, I don't have all the information I need to get through this. So you got all these different things around here, different places to start, different symbols that you haven't seen. And I'm pretty sure I put this one down after playing with it a couple tries. I mean, I was kind of interested to see, what I might be able to discover about it. But I put it down because I figured, there's probably more information than this somewhere else. And, if you know the rules, it's really easy to open. But if you don't, you need to be okay with the idea that you can put something down.
Oh, chill the tree.
Oh, yeah,
thing.
Tree. So
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, let me make sure I get that.
The important puzzle element.
So important puzzle element, it's really just attaching to another thing, but then you've also got this kind of
The
stuff.
cloud tree.
Yep. So that's really cool.
That's so cool. I really love the replay value in this game.
There is a ton of replay value in the game, and I'm constantly discovering new things as I play through it.
It's like 7 years worth of stuff.
That, like, every scene is chock full of things to find. I mean, there are lots sense of...
Oh, I just noticed that, like,
Mhm.
the color of the glitter is different in different
Yeah, and
locations.
I actually don't know if that necessarily signifies something or not.
Hmm.
It's not strictly location based or pillar based. It can be different colors for different pillars. It reminds me of one that I want to check out, where you draw a line off the same circle and it turns into two different colors. I'm not sure if that means something or not.
What? What does it mean?
The different colors of particles coming off of.
Oh, like two different colors?
Yeah, they're well. No, if you solve it one way, you get one color, and if you solve it another way, you get another color.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, if you walk up the path a little bit, you find these series of puzzles, and these are here exclusively to teach you how this mechanic works. That if you solve it in some ways, it doesn't work, and if you solve it in other ways, it does work. And as you go through the series here, you will hopefully learn that the rule is that you need to separate white and black into different regions. The rule that I initially came up with was a little too complicated. It was in a row or column, white and black cells need to be divided, which is a more complicated rule, and it works for, I think, all of these, but it's not really the solution, and so when I took it back to that vault door, it didn't work. The other thing that these puzzles are teaching you that I think a lot of people do not pick up on ever is the idea of winding. And that is the idea that I can go around the puzzle this way, right, and that solves it. And I can also go around the puzzle the opposite way. And this is, in some senses, the same solution, but in some senses it's a different solution. This solution allows me to exit the puzzle over here. This solution allows me to exit the puzzle over here. They surround exactly the same thing, but the edges are different. And understanding that difference and being able to visualize that flip in your mind is critical for a lot of the puzzles. And yet I see people who are otherwise very smart fail to make that connection and have to relearn this every time it comes up. They'll solve a puzzle, they'll have a solution that is the correct solution, it's just wound the wrong way. Or it's the correct solution, it's just displaced on the board and it needs to be applied to a different position. But they don't make the connection that they can move it. And then this one is to teach you that you shouldn't assume that white regions need to be the disjoint ones, that you can separate the black regions too, and that, blank squares could be included anywhere.
I can't help but thinking in the use of the words white and black. There was another guy that realized.
Yeah, I've heard that one. You need to separate the blacks from the whites.
Like, no!
This game is racist. The other thing that I've commonly seen when watching people play through this area is they'll get to the end of these segments, and yeah, this is all about pathfinding, finding a path that covers all of the dots. But they'll get to the end of these segments, and they'll be confused. They'll wonder what happened. This didn't seem to do anything. And my response to that has always been, what changed was not something in the world. What changed after these puzzles was you.
I was inside you all along.
But it was.
I know.
It was actually you that changed. You started this series of puzzles not knowing something, not knowing a crucial piece of material that you needed to, for example, open this door, and you left those puzzles knowing that piece of information. And so what changed was you. And if you don't approach this game with that mindset, that the change that you're trying to affect and the purpose of playing the game is to edify you, and not to achieve some end state or end goal within the game, then you're not going to enjoy the game very much, because the game really is just what it is. It is just a bunch of puzzles and pretty things to look at and things to contemplate. There isn't a whole lot more to it than that.
There's not going to be any gun battles. There's not going to be any intrigue.
Yeah, well,
other than the puzzles.
Other than the puzzles, and I mean, especially considering, and I'm going to go back here and I'm going to solve this just because I was thinking about not having done this in our on our first take, going around this side. But yeah, especially in the instance of story, like the game has a story. Of a sort. You know, you can piece stuff together and try to figure out that there is a backstory to this island, and there are fictional people who are involved in its creation. It doesn't matter a whole lot. It's not something that's going to be revelatory or world changing. It's just, oh, well, that makes sense. It was people putting together some sort of a mindscape VR project, I don't know, and in placing themselves inside of it to see what they could see. That really does seem to be the size of it to me. You can have all sorts of different interpretations on it, but really, the game is more about the idea of experience and meditation on your surroundings, and yeah, you'll miss it if you're looking for an ending.
Yeah, it's surprisingly hard to find just from hearing of some of the Let's Plays that you watch. It's interesting. You know, I'm wondering if just kind of doing it as a Let's Play makes you feel like you have to be interesting or you have to go fast or something.
Yeah. There's so much to be gained and enjoyed in this game from just taking time to slow down and just sort of soak in it.
It's not unlike a vacation, but with a lot of puzzles.
Yeah, which is my kind of vacation.
I know, for reals.
So yeah, this guy, these little puzzles are all over the place. Anyone who's played through will have found them. And they're really here just to teach you how this mechanic works. This little mechanic with these triangles. The adept player will go through these and try to find solutions that work and don't work, and figure out why each one works or doesn't work. Ultimately, these puzzles are very similar to a Japanese logic puzzle that is called Slitherlink.
Mirakabe?
Yeah, from Nikolai.
Oh, Nikolai. What? Mirakabe is another game.
It's another game on that site. So when I saw it, it was something that I kind of thought about the rules that I was seeing, and eventually just made the connection that it's the number of triangles represents the number of sides.
That's a curly cube.
I know, I like that solution. There's actually a few solutions. That's not the first one I came up with, but it's the one that I ultimately decided I liked.
I like it.
Let me see if I can figure out another one here. Let's see, that one won't work. Yeah, if we do this guy, yeah, that works too. So I think that's what I actually came up with the first time I did that puzzle. But then I realized that there's just a nice little spiral in there. Yeah, there are audio logs all around here too, but I'm not going to bother trying to listen to those since they're distracting. Maybe the ones that I really, really like.
Yeah. I wish that we could show them the video that has that awesome, the one with the moon. Except that it's an hour long of
yes,
just the
hour long Secret of Psalm 46. I actually really loved that speech.
Oh my gosh.
I liked it so much that I listened to the whole thing twice because
we literally, I think, had dinner. Sat down, listened to it together.
Yeah.
For an hour, just listening to it because it was so good. It was just fantastic.
Well, yeah, I'd gotten to it, and I figured there was something up with it because the sun could be clicked on. It looked like it was the start of something, but I didn't make the connection, and so I just sat and I listened to the whole thing, and it was a really interesting speech. And then I walked around behind the screen, and I found what was going on with it, and I was like, oh, I need to stand here and listen to this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to show them at least some of it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go through that one or not.
It's hard to juxtapose it to this, which has nothing to do with it. But
anyway. So yeah,
this is cool too.
Yeah, the symmetry puzzle. I'm going to solve this a different way first. So this is the next section I came to, and you're immediately confronted with these vases, And, you know, I stood around and tried to figure that out. I actually figured out what was going on because I started a second playthrough with you, and I got a different vase.
Right, yeah, because when we went through with me, we got a yellow vase. What I don't know what you got.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I got the red one. It doesn't really matter. It was
noticing you could get something different that kind of helped you.
Yeah, but the fact that there was something different kind of clued me in to the fact that this could be solved in multiple ways, and the solution that you put in there represents the vase that is raised, which is critical for solving the puzzle that's on this door.
Sneaky.
So we'll come back to that in a second. We'll go through these first.
Sandcastle.
Yep, sandcastle.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So these are just introducing the idea of symmetry.
So pretty.
They also introduce the idea of these glass panes.
I like the sound cues in this.
Yeah.
One. Little.
Yeah, they have a different sound cue, sort of a different style thing. The way that the way that Jonathan Blow described it was, you know, because there's sort of a mythos and a construction behind the island that they wanted to make sure all the spaces were architecturally sound and had a backstory. And so the different, like for example, and I was if you look at these right here, these little frames, the pressure plate paths in the keep, you know, the puzzles that you walk on, are constructed out of these things. And all of the glass was made in this glass factory. What? And so there's this little,
oh my goodness,
there's this internal coherence to the island, even though it's so much a construct. I mean,
that's so interesting.
It's not like anyone actually built stuff in this, or as if this were a real place, and yet all of the architecture has been thought about. They hired architects to say, you know, this is what you would need to design these spaces for them to be architecturally sound.
Wow. That's amazing.
So
they
symmetry
really
puzzles,
did a knockout job on this game.
There's so much to talk about. This puzzle in particular is interesting because it lets you start in two places, and both of these work to finish. And it's really there to hammer home the idea that to solve the symmetry puzzles, you need to pay attention to what your other path is doing, because both places that you can start give you pretty much complete freedom of movement. And what you have to pay attention to is what your line is doing on the other side. And so that's a solution, and there's also a solution in the middle. And then here at the boat dock, I remember wondering about this and searching around, trying to figure out where it might be activated.
It was not the right time.
But it was not the right time for that. I still am not sure what the trigger for the boat panels is. I think it's connected to activating a certain number of lasers, but I'm not 100% sure of that. It may be that you just need to go to a particular one.
We need to do more research just to see.
Yeah, it's not especially important. It's just,
now that you bring it up, I'm curious. So.
Yeah.
Now these are some of my favorite ones.
The ones that are melting.
Glass. It's just so cool.
Yeah, they mess with your head. The interesting thing about these puzzles is that they are in fact all the same puzzle.
Spoilers, hello. No.
I think we're already well past that point.
Yeah.
And the first one of these is actually the hardest one to do because the clues are all scattered around. Whereas in the second one, all the clues are on the same side. But if you mirror the symmetry, and the way to think about the symmetry puzzles is that you mirror all of the gaps in the clues on one side to the other side, because they have to be satisfied in both places, you'll find that these two puzzles are actually identical to each other. And this one is actually literally identical to the previous one, it's just melting. So, you know, you have to be able to envision the solution
so weird.
While it's being distorted in front of you.
I really like that. That's just super clever. So where to now?
So I think, we just follow the lit up cable. And I'm pretty sure that's what I did when I started out. I think, you know, this whole segment I don't remember taking terribly long. None of these puzzles are especially hard. and this gates you into the rest of the symmetry area. Now that you've learned about symmetry and grids, it starts expanding on that concept.
Oh no.
And then you have this gate up here that's barred in an interesting way, because it shows you... I think this is actually the first time you're likely to discover that physical objects prevent you from completing your line.
It's like a weird light-based line that needs, like...
Yeah, it needs...
something.
It's your perspective on it is the important thing. And that's always true.
Yeah, there's something very deep and meta to be said about that as
Yeah,
well.
well, it's the case for like all the perspective puzzles, like the ones this guy over here.
Huh?
Your
Oh my gosh, yeah, look at that one.
I love springing those on you, by the way.
I make it fun. I have those
Yeah.
big reactions.
Yeah, that your perspective is really the key. It's less about the 3D environment. It's more about what you can see. The 3D environment just lets you play with that in really interesting
Where do you
ways.
have to stand to go to that one? Or are you gonna
Let me see.
or did you want to wait to do that later?
No, we can do it. I think it's just right over here. Unless do I need to? I think I need to be up there.
Okay. Well, yeah, you don't worry about it then.
Yeah, and then there's another one that's down
Oh yeah.
down there. I don't know. We'll get to that in a second.
That was weird. I saw the palm trees upside down first, and it kind of confused me.
Yeah, palm trees. Those are for another puzzle. We'll try to remind me to do that one, because I think the last time we did this take, we left before addressing them.
Oh, okay. I'll try to remember.
So yeah,
There's just so much to do.
there's
It's like...
so much in this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, symmetry puzzle with dots. Let's see here. No, that's not gonna work.
And I guess the good thing is if we forget, we can always come back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do several of these kinds of videos over time.
I like the shapes they're making. Like, they just look like kind of modern, like, space era alien glyphs, don't they?
Yeah.
It looks like they should be saying something or meaning something.
Yeah, little twisty lines.
Whee! It's so cool.
There we go. And I remember I noticed this on our previous attempt at this video.
That's so
right
cool.
as I turned around, and that's something I had never seen before.
And it doesn't even really do anything,
it's,
right?
It's just there to say, hey, look, this shape fits into that shape. Isn't that neat? And it only fits in when you look at it through the reflection. It's
sorry,
just,
our cat is kind of running around.
But yeah, just all sorts of stuff like that.
It's so cool. Ooh, look, there's like a hole over there. You see it? Like there's a grotto with like a few rocks in it.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, and trying to figure out if it was more than that. I wonder if it is.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, because you discovered all the actual solvable.
Yeah, all of
puzzles,
the puzzles that count towards some sort of score I've gotten. This one adds.
Doesn't mean
that does not mean that I've found everything in this game.
This is 2 colors, right?
Yeah, this is showing you 2 colors. It's showing you that where you start affects the color of the line.
Yeah. Sorry, I get so excited. I just detract from.
Oh no,
what you're
not at all.
I don't want to derail your thoughts completely, though.
Yeah, but yeah, the 2 color thing is important because this puzzle is impossible to solve if you start from over here, but if you start from here, it's really easy. And we'll do this guy. Yeah. And we'll do...
I want to make a language out of all of these.
Well, they effectively are, if you think about it.
Well, I mean, other than...
It's not going to work.
Other than the language of solve this puzzle, here are the rules. I mean, like the actual shapes you make.
There we go.
You know?
Yeah, the shapes that you were drawing meant something.
But you're right, there is a whole language to puzzle solving in this game.
Yeah, which, I mean, in a very real way, that's what this game is about. It's about teaching you a language of puzzles. Wonder if we should turn that guy on or not.
Is like your game. Like it feels like they made this exactly for you.
Yeah, this game was made for me. Okay, so this puzzle in particular, I'm glad I didn't turn on the recording, because I've seen people get stumped at this puzzle. And because what they'll do is they'll go up here, and then they'll try to come down here and figure out, okay, well I need to get this guy, and they'll get here, and then they're stuck. They don't get past that point. And if they're smart, they realize that, this actually means they're stuck. But it seems to take forever for people to say, well, that dot is the problem, and I should deal with it first. I don't know why, and I actually need to think about what I'm doing here too. There we go. But it's that dot that's the problem, so you should start by eliminating that dot from the puzzle. And that's where the solution is. This one, has the opposite problem. If you start down here, you end up trapped.
Oh yeah, this is the fading line one.
Yeah, this is...
So mean. Like, seriously.
It kind of is. Oh no, my line's going away. What do I do?
You can't see it no more.
And this I especially love, because right at the point where the line fades out for good, where you get the idea that you're supposed to be solving this by, figuring out where the yellow line is supposed to be, it gives you a really easy puzzle, and then it gives you what looks like the same puzzle. But it's not the same puzzle. It's rotated the different way, because you see this down here. So, yeah, if you try to come up here, you run into yourself. And so you have to solve it differently. But, yeah, it's just clever stuff. Let's see here. That. And then the last one, really, there are no blue dots, so one of the easiest ways to approach this is just to start up here and solve the puzzle as if blue were yellow, and then rotate your solution around down here.
I can't keep, like, the burned images of them in my head long enough for that to actually work for me. But it's a very good tactic. Like, I would need to write it down once I figured it out.
There's no shame in writing stuff down.
I mean, you were doing that, like, the whole time. You have, like, a whole notebook.
I have a notebook of stuff. It's probably thinner than the notebooks that some people have put together, since I only wrote stuff down when I absolutely needed to. But this is a great game for that. Never be afraid of writing stuff down.
I actually learned that from you.
It definitely helps out. So now that I'm up here, I can actually do this guy.
Yay! So cool. They all look like thermometers.
Yeah, these especially. So yeah, that one is purple.
I keep wanting, like, the little, like, stone things out in the middle of the water to actually do something. Oh, don't forget the palm tree puzzle.
Yeah, I won't.
Okay.
I won't
didn't
forget.
know where that was supposed to be.
It's down towards the shore. I was going to finish these guys up and then go down there. So yeah, this is applying symmetry to this opposite facing idea, and so the idea, at least to me, just came off pretty simple. Solve the puzzle on this side, and mirror the solution on this side.
Again, I would have needed to write this down.
Yeah. So, relatively straightforward. This one lets you come up here. And this one has you come over here. And then this guy plays a little trick. So one of the things that goes on here is, you need to have learned enough about how these function to, immediately intuit that that's the right place to start. Because if you start in any of these other places, you can only cover one dot.
Yeah.
So this becomes, the obvious way to start, and then the rest of the puzzle is just kind of falling into place like that.
Nice.
But then it plays this little trick on you, because if you try to do this in the same way, you end up down here, and if you're smart, you think, well, that's not exactly right. Wasn't I supposed to end up here? And if you go ahead and solve it, the puzzle will reject, because this is mirrored differently. It's flipped upside down. Make sure I got that. Yeah. There we go. So you actually have to go this way instead. And yeah, this is a case where the puzzle will actually blank itself out and force you to go back.
Yeah.
A lot of people complain about that too. That it's, frustrating and unfair that the game, forces you to go back and solve something that you already know how to solve. And
it's just hard to do it again.
Right, but you're frustrated because you have to do it again, even though it's already there in front of you. You have to run that line again. And the reason it does that, from my perspective at least, is twofold. One is you usually only encounter that for puzzles that are easy to brute force, where there are small enough set of possibilities.
I'm firing my laser!
That,
Sorry. I really
right.
wanted to say that.
Yeah, for puzzles where there are a small enough set of possibilities that you really could just sit there and try to brute force the answer. So it institutes a punishment or a roadblock to prevent you from doing that easily. The second reason it does that is to encourage you in those cases towards the idea that there's something that you missed. There's something you didn't understand about your solution to the previous puzzle. You've overlooked something, and you should go back and steady it until you do understand why it was right.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, but I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate that.
Ooh, there's one.
So yeah, there's also one in the water right here.
Oh, that's nasty.
And he's gold instead.
Most of the ones I remember seeing before were gold. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
So
looks like some of the stone pillar things are wearing hats.
So yeah,
I don't know if that bears
the
on
reason
anything,
the reason I
but-
wanted to come down here is because I remember after I was done with the laser and I saw that there were more puzzles down here. I came down here and wasn't really sure what to do with it.
Oh, I think I know.
And yeah, you know what to do with it. You just trace the outline of the rocks. But I think I had started the game and was new enough to the game that wasn't a solution that immediately occurred to me. So I tried a number of things and then figured that there was just a mechanic that I needed to learn somewhere, and so I left this for a while and came back to it later. When I came back to it later, I almost immediately saw what was going on.
Oh wow.
And wondered how I'd missed it before.
Amazing the perspective you get when you hang around with these audios.
Yeah.
So that's what they do.
So yeah, these are
They do have a purpose.
these are an interesting set of puzzles because there are three puzzles in different locations on the island that are all variations on the same theme, and this is one of them. I think of them as puzzles about a line of perspective, and so the idea being, if you put the observer or the witness and the puzzle and the clue in a line, these are puzzles where the witness is looking at the puzzle and the clue is behind the puzzle. And the fact that these screens are transparent is kind of critical to that. This one has the column that's behind the tree, so you have to intuit where they all are, or you could go look. The Japanese monastery.
Oh, that's like one of my favorite.
Yeah, is a great location, and it has the observer, and then the clue, and then the puzzle. The clue is in the space between you and the puzzle,
Right.
creating an interference that implies what you should
that'll
do.
be easier to see, of course.
Yeah, when we go look at that. And then there's a third area. I don't know if we went through this area. It's the Autumn Grove area, where the clue is behind the observer looking at the puzzle. And in this case, it's about shadows being cast from behind.
I don't know. I know.
So I don't think you know that one. We'll go through that area at some point. So this one, what you're really meant to notice is that the stand here has been twisted.
Oh, because that's obvious.
Well, it is though. If you sit down and you look, you can see the stand has been twisted. The stand faces this way, and this has been twisted this way. See?
Yeah.
If you look at how it is on the ground.
It's just.
So
It's like, who would notice that?
well,
It's crazy. Oh my gosh, that thing fit into place like eerily.
exactly.
Well, that's creepy.
So
Almost.
so yeah, if you
Whoa.
just pay attention to the surroundings, everything
There are
really does
things
fall into
around
place.
you.
And then this guy was a little weird to me, because I looked at it and everything else has been working off of a straight
wait
point
a
of
minute.
reflection, but these guys are at such range that they
Yeah.
end up in a weird place.
You do. Like, you can't
And
make that
so
special.
I remember trying this out, or maybe this out, and none of that seemed to really work.
What did you come up with?
Eventually, I just decided to go around the bottom like this.
Oh.
And that's what you're actually supposed to do. You're not supposed to try to intuit a perspective. You're supposed to use this as the perspective.
Right.
this is the clue. It needs to fit around these, and because it's still symmetrical, it needs to fit around the bottom, because the top is smaller in most dimensions. The last one is kind of neat because you come at it from this angle and you try to figure out what it's referring to. The fact that these are transparent is really the key here.
I see it kind of starting to get there.
I guess it doesn't. I guess it doesn't zap in. That's all right.
Oh, there it is.
There it is, right there.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Just, oh my gosh.
And I recall when I actually solved this one, what I ended up doing, because I didn't think about it from that perspective. I stood over here, I looked around, and I said, "Oh, it's those trees." Okay, so I've got, from this side, I've got medium, small, medium, large, and mirrored that on this side, and that's the solution.
Oh my gosh.
And it was only later that I kind of realized, oh, well, there's no reason I can't stand over here.
They fit in.
They just fit right there. So
somebody else thought it would be fun to take some pillows out for like a.
I'm still wondering about this pool here.
Is that the one that I saw?
Yeah, this is the one that you were looking at from up
like
there.
It was completely like connected to the bottom of the. It connected to the lake, but I guess it just had lots of reflection in it.
Yep. Well, I'm going to leave it as a mystery for another day. So we'll.
Do you know?
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Again, there are things about this game that I don't know, and I'm okay, letting those epiphanies and insights just happen when they happen. All right, so I think we're gonna leave it there, and we'll come back to this at some future time, and probably continue walking around the island in a roughly clockwise fashion, and we'll just continue to see where we get.
See what other mysteries the island has for us.
All right.
This was freaking fun. Looking forward to the next one.
Me too. All right. See you later, guys.
Bye.